The Thaumanova Reactor was one of the fractals which might have been a run-ender. The fractal itself can be divided into 4 simple parts. There are 2 puzzles and 2 bosses, and everything else is just fluff. The puzzles aren't a problem. With a thief you can just shadow step your way through it, without facing too much resistance. The end boss, the Thaumanova Anomaly, is annoying in its own right, but more on that later. The run-ender is the first boss, Subject 6. Every 5%, Subject 6 spawns a little ooze. If the little ooze reaches Subject 6, it will get healed for 6% of its health. Which means that if one little ooze reaches Subject 6, you will get 2 more little oozes in the course of this fight. But the possible run-enders are the big oozes that spawn at 75, 50 and 25%. If one of them reaches Subject 6, it will get healed for 26%. Meaning you will have 2 more big oozes in this fight and 5 more little oozes. You can soften the blow with poison, but you don't have time for that. You need to burst down a big ooze. Because if you can't do that, Subject 6 can't die, and you can't progress this fractal. I've experimented a bit on a prior day, and I couldn't do it on a Berserker setup. And I've been practicing with a Rampager setup, which I believe might work. But before I got a chance to swap gear, this lucky day happened. Not too long after the previous fractal. So I've not been fishing for these instabilities. Vengeance is a dud. Since there's just puzzles and bosses, it doesn't do anything. Sugar Rush is a bit of a double-edged sword. You move and attack faster, which is nice for the end boss, but everything that's not a boss also moves faster and attack faster, which means the big oozes will reach Subject 6 faster, you will have less time to get rid of them. But the real winner is outflanked. When an enemy flanks us, it will deal massive damage. But, as I said earlier, it's fluff or a boss, so the downside is non-existent for us. The upside is, however, that we also get this bonus. If we're close to an enemy and we hit it from behind or the side, we will get a 100% damage bonus. This isn't multiplicative, sadly. It adds up to other factors. So it's not true doubling, but it's enough for this fractal. It's still close with it, so it would have been really close on a Rampager setup. Why Rampagers? Well, you gain a lot of might on Pistol, and the most burst I could figure out with a build is the old Venom Share and 1000 Needles. There's one more little trick I learned on tier 3. The small oozes spawn when Subject 6 takes damage at a 5% interval. However, the big oozes spawn when it reaches the 75, 50 or 25% interval. This means only big oozes spawns and no small oozes if Subject 6 reaches a certain health total only through conditions and not physical attacks. This didn't always go to plan. I did mess up the last big ooze and a little ooze came through, but that was a blessing in disguise which gave me time to set up and try it again. And in the end I did it. Although I said this was fluff, saving the Inquest will give you a small buff at the very end. Only I forgot which doors to attack to save them. So I only managed to save one of the two which give a debuff to the last boss. The last boss has quite a few attacks, but most of them don't really deal a lot of damage, even on my aggressive gear. Most of them are designed to remove the tiles underneath you, but since I'm solo, that's not really that big of a deal. The bomb can hit hard, but sometimes you just dodge them and that's fine. The problem, as in other tiers, are the electric circles. In the first phase you can see them clearly. They have an orange circle underneath them, and if you stand in it, when it detonates, you get agony and it's game over. Below 50%, these also spawn, only this time the AoE is false. It only shows a small red circle, while the area is the same as the orange circle from earlier. So you have to really guess where to stand, and also they spawn at irregular intervals, which means you don't really know when to dodge. At least I don't. It can get very overwhelming and hectic when these spawn. But persistence prevails, and I did manage to do it in the end. Hopefully the next one will be less jank.